At the YLO Guild's warehouse, one member was ordered to deliver the jewels to the Keenest Guild. As she enters, she sees one of the guards on the ground lifeless and sees more of them who are in the same state. She is shocked and sees the destroyed wall of the warehouse. She prepared for battle and activated her skill radar. She detects 3 of them inside, but as she is about to dash in, she is strangled by someone who seems invisible and knocks her unconscious. It is the vice director of the Silver Moon Guild, Chanseong Kong, who then enters the warehouse to secure the jewels. They set the warehouse on fire to cover their tracks and decided it was time to find the person who stole their jewel crystal. Sangwoo arrives in Iceland in a jet, his first time overseas. As he lands, he is greeted by 2 guards saying that Wontae is already inside and waiting at what seems to be a Stonehenge-like structure. It is called the Valhalla Portal, the entrance to Odin's tower. As he enters through an endless cliff that drops off into space, Sangwoo quickly heads to the temporary barracks outside of the tower. Inside, Wontae discusses with the vice director of the guild about what happened to YLO Guild's warehouse. As soon as they see Sangwoo, they immediately welcome him and give Sangwoo and his clones a coat. Wontae then shows the map of the dungeon and tells him the distance of where they were last located, 24 miles inside the dungeon. Sangwoo expected that it would be far, but Wontae tells him they were taking it slow due to no risk of food shortage. Then they gave him 3 teleportation scrolls since they had spares, and each one of his clones would be given since they were the keys to the mission. Wontae instructs him how to use the scrolls as the vice director said before Team 1 was cut off to check the outside situation, every day at 2 p.m. She assumes Sangwoo would see traces of the battle. Wontae asks Sangwoo if there are any more questions, but Sangwoo what he is going to eat for dinner with his sisters once she gets back, which makes Wontae grin and say that for the first in a long time, they will eat at home. Sangwoo fully prepares all the things he needs as his clones hold the wall to get inside the tower. He then initiates his familiar skill as Wontae looks at him, with the belief that he can do it. Sangwoo opens his eyes at a vast glacier field with blizzard currents. As he feels the cold despite his cold resistance, all his clones are inside with him, taking over clone number 1 as his familiar skill has gone up to a level in which he can go beyond sharing senses with a targeted subordinate to take direct control. They go on ahead and make their way through the tower. He confirms that the portal exit gets blocked as they enter. He checked the information about the monsters at the beginning of the dungeon, which were the E-class frost bats. While reading the information, the other clones killed the bats in the area, and knew there was a chief frost bat among the group. As he was about to take it on, his clones suddenly jumped in and killed it quickly. He was kind of disappointed not being able to partake in the kill, but decides they keep going. Despite the continuous attacks of frost bats, they were able to cover 8 miles already. Sangwoo realizes that they should be encountering new monsters at that point, and as soon as he says it, a group of ice gorillas shows up as his clones prepare for the fight. They immediately initiate magic bullets to shoot bullets with mana to increase damage, which was very effective as Sangwoo dictates how the battle formation should be. They killed the monsters with precision and quickness. Everything seemed to be going well until the ground suddenly shakes and destroyed as a large arm appears, which caught everyone off guard. Back at the temporary barracks, the vice director asks Wontae if he thinks Sangwoo is doing fine, as even their most elite team had difficulties in that place. Wontae assures her of what Sangwoo is capable of. Wontae was actually thinking of just infiltrating and rescuing them while avoiding fighting, and that is why he asked Sangwoo to raise his stats to at least C rank, but he did not expect that Sangwoo would be able to raise most of his stats by 20 in only 6 months, and that his stats are already on par with B rank hunters. More importantly, his clones are about the same skill level as he is despite their stats being lower. They are still capable in battle and could be leveled as B rank hunters, respectively. The vice director was surprised since Raid Team 1's average rank is B. Wontae sees that Sangwoo is on equal footing with Raid Team 1 and says that if the jewels they requested from the YLO Guild were delivered, he would be much stronger before he entered. They discussed the ice golem being a problematic encounter, but Wontae already mentioned it to Sangwoo, telling him to avoid it so it could be no problem. However, Sangwoo was already face to face with the ice golem inside the tower. He attacked with the cursed sword but dealt no damage to the ice golem. The monster let out a loud roar and attacked, but Sangwoo managed to dodge. Thinking that there was no way to damage the ice golem, the ice gorillas tried to attack, but one of them was grabbed by the ice golem and eats it. Shocked with what happened, they tried to get away from the ice golem's continuous attacks. Sangwoo remembers the instruction to aim for the ice golem's core but is having a hard time locating it. He then sees the core on its chest but doesn't know how to destroy it since magic bullets are not doing any damage. The ice golem slammed the ground for an area of effect attack which caused clone number 5 to be grabbed by the ice golem. It was a problem since clone number 5 was one of the 3 clones that had the teleportation scroll, which made Sangwoo think of an idea. As the ice golem was about to eat clone number 5, he dashes in to grab something from the clone and leaps away as the ice golem eats clone number 5. He then showed a torn piece of the teleportation scroll that number 5 was carrying as something inside the golem exploded. Sangwoo quickly decided it would be best to teleport it away instead of attacking its core, and as expected, the core teleported to the temporary barracks at the entrance, which surprised the people there. He then gained a lot of status upgrades due to killing the ice golem, and his clone's skill leveled up, enabling him to summon at 7 clones at most. He was feeling good about it since it was difficult to level up unlike his other skills, but still decided not to summon a 7th one right away as he heads closer to Raid Team 1. Meanwhile, George Lucas was presented with a list of people who wanted to see him for the month. As he looked into it, he asked if there was anyone from South Korea and was confirmed there was none, which surprised him, and thought something changed as he orders to cancel all requests and proceed with the Academy's inauguration ceremony. At some apartment, the hunter that Sangwoo encountered at the entrance of the Shinseildong dungeon entrance is having a talk with Gyunseok. They were talking about the situation that he was in with the Silvermoon Guild, and he thinks he was still quite talented since he was able to get away. There was a sudden knock on the door, and as Gyunseok opened, he was attacked by someone. Chanseong Kong made his entrance and addressed Park Gapsu. He was the 3rd person they managed to find. Chanseong asks him who was the culprit that beat the Silvermoon Guild members at the dungeon entrance a while ago. Gyunseok retaliates and attacks him, but his punch is easily caught as Chanseong brings him down to his knees just by gripping his fist and continuously attacks Gyunseok while making threats. Gapsu tried to stop the fight by cooperating to come with them, but Chanseong still went on due to Gyunseok's attitude earlier. He continues to beat Gyunseok and is about to kill him when Gapsu says that he knew the person who did it, making him stop, and smiles with a evil look on his face with happiness, telling them it only needs a little beating to get information out of them. Back at Odin's tower, Sangwoo and his clones continue to advance. He wants to take it slow now and be more cautious since they have not seen a monster in a while. They suddenly come across some corpses and think of what could possibly be the cause. As they are almost near their destination, they will now go and look for any traces of battle to increase the chance of locating Raid Team 1. As he remembered the said time for Raid Team 1 to check outside their subspace, one of his clones attacks something behind him. Suddenly he saw one ice-like type monster in front of him. His clone was able to block the attack with his hand, and Sangwoo was surprised that it was nearly hard for him to detect where it came from since it was nearly invisible. He then heard more footsteps in the snow, and he sees more of them in a cluster, charging at him. He then realizes the situation at hand and the reason why Raid Team 1 was not able to exit last time, and that without realizing it, they were already in the middle of their trap. His clones then stand their ground as they continue to assault the rest of the monsters, when they suddenly vanished again. He then sees his clones were able to block and counterattack, which made him wonder how they were able to do it. He then lets clone number 1 take control of his body and observe the situation. He sees that his clones detect the invisible monsters via the sound of the wind and the sound it makes during movement, which makes him realize he still has a long way to go in order to be on the same level as his clones in terms of battle. Inside the subspace, Raid Team 1 Captain Park Yuna was reminded by one of his teammates to look outside since it was already 2 p.m. She is in a dilemma whether to tell them to have hope considering their situation for the past few months when she heard a sound as she was opening the subspace. Sangwoo still observes the situation as his clones try to repel the incoming attacks. He is still trying to get used to it, and looks at the current status of his clones, which makes him worry since he can't calculate the enemy numbers and thinks that they are too many to deal with. When suddenly the subspace opens, he rushes towards. Yuna sees them and informs her team that there is indeed someone outside. Raid Team 1 looks at the clones with shock as Sangwoo tells them he is here to save them, so they should save him from his predicament. As Sangwoo rushes into the subspace, Yuna orders Raid Team 1 to support him as they all work in unison. with defense and magic attack combinations in order for Sang-woo and his clones to make it inside the subspace. It was a success, and Yuna closes the subspace. Sang-woo then tells them he is here to rescue them, but everybody looks at him weirdly. Yuna asks him if he is from the Keenest Guild. Sang-woo introduces himself and explains that he is there at the request of their guild master Park Won-tae. Raid Team 1 members were relieved by hearing this. Yuna asked about Seong-tae and Sang-woo informed her that he was safe but had not woken up yet. Sang-woo then implies that they should get out of the dungeon now and that Won-tae is already waiting anxiously at the entrance, but the whole raid team is hesitant. Sang-woo felt that something didn't feel right as he looked at the members, and noticed they were missing some members since they were a total of 10 when they entered but there were only 8 members currently in the subspace. Yuna then asks a favor to help them one more time. It is to retrieve the dead body of their member, as they can't leave someone behind. Sang-woo asks for more information about what happened, and Yuna tells him of the story. They were suddenly ambushed, and their healer was the one who was targeted. Sang-woo thinks about how he was also targeted first, and thinks that the invisible monsters outside target the most vulnerable ones when attempting an ambush. Yuna stated that she opened her subspace immediately, and ordered the raid team to fall back. She assessed the situation they were in, and considered the team's safety first rather than facing the monster head-on. They then used the teleport scroll right away to report, but everything was so chaotic that they did not notice that one invisible monster was able to slip in. Seong-tae then goes and saves Yuna from the attack and is stabbed by the monster. All of their spare teleportation scrolls were lost as it happened, resulting in the portal closing without the rest of the members being able to enter. Yuna had the choice of entering, but if she got out, the subspace would also close and would result in the rest of the team losing a safe place or supplies and would eventually die. Sang-woo asks about the location of the dead member. Yuna opens a part of the subspace in which they all see the dead body of their member. Sang-woo thought of the dangers considering the distance there is between them and the monsters that lurked outside. Sang-woo agrees to retrieve the corpse, which makes Raid Team 1 happy. Sang-woo stated his condition and informed them that his reason for being there was to save them, not to increase the casualties, and that if he saw any chance of them failing, he would prioritize getting them out first. Yuna agreed. Also, Sang-woo stated that he and his clones would retrieve the body, making Yuna worried, saying that would be too dangerous. Sang-woo then assures them to not worry, telling them with confidence that they are not real people but clones, which surprised Yuna. In JM Agency, Chanseong sits on top of Junmo's beaten body as his lackeys destroy the office and says that Junmo should have stayed low after getting kicked out from Haizung Guild. He then asks where Sang-woo is, and he puts his foot in Junmo's arms, threatening him to break it, but Junmo doesn't answer and Chanseong breaks his arm. Junmo lets out a loud cry as one of Chanseong's lackeys finds the document of Sang-woo and hands it to Chanseong. They then plan to take Junmo and send some of their members to Sang-woo's address. Yohayan was outside the door all along and was shocked that Silvermoon was present at their office. Junmo asks Chanseong why they are looking for Sang-woo. Chanseong tells him what happened and asks him about the jewel crystals. He stated that Sang-woo probably did not tell Junmo of stealing their crystals, and they were the actual victims. Yohayan was shocked to hear that the Silvermoon Guild thought that Sang-woo was the culprit who stole the crystals. Back in the subspace, Sang-woo tells them his plan. 2 of his clones will take the teleport scroll and stay behind to guard the entrance of the subspace, and 3 of them will go out again to retrieve the body, emphasizing they should never come outside since their safety is his top priority. The raid team insists on helping Sang-woo, which he recognizes due to their abilities, but states that he is the one responsible for bringing them back safely, but Yuna tells that Sang-woo took on the aggro of a bunch of the monsters before as he ran towards them earlier. Sang-woo explained he had other plans if they couldn't help him earlier. He asks the team to trust him and wait in the subspace. Yuna thinks for a second but eventually agrees. Sang-woo prepares as he thinks about the time that he was training himself to the bone for the past 6 months together with his clones, being fed with jewels, and got a skill called Monster Devour, which absorbs the essence of a monster once killed with a 12% chance. It was the secret why he was able to obtain the stats needed for him to pass Wanty's assessment, but he still wants more, and is not satisfied with his current power. He then readies his clones as he swaps weapons with clone number 4, and instructs him to leave right away once they recover the body. Yuna then reminds him that the monsters don't easily leave their last position and can stay there for days and that he must be careful. Sangwoo takes the advice and thanks Yuna as the subspace opens. After exiting, he observes the surroundings first, and then dashes as fast as they can towards the body of the late member of Raid Team 1. The clones that were left in the subspace look at them as they go, and instruct Raid Team 1 to keep their distance away from the entrance. Raid Team 1 members are still worried and want to help Sangwoo, but Yuna said that considering what they had seen earlier when Sangwoo ran towards them away from the monsters, and that this is Odin's tower, which is not just someplace where you can reach your location just by running away, they should just wait and trust Sangwoo, and believe in his plan. Sangwoo continues to rush towards the body. As he dodges one of the invisible monsters that attacked him and blocks the second attack, he was still able to block it despite not having to guess the accurate location but due to feeling it, as he commands his clones to keep pushing through the monsters that are still increasing in numbers. Sangwoo was then able to locate the body despite the number of monsters blocking his way when suddenly one of his clones was attacked from behind. He then realizes that they are surrounded by the monsters they left behind that had already caught up to them. He then uses the blue potion that was given to him by Yohayan. He immediately feels the instant surge of mana power coursing through his body. He activates Magic Bullet, and shoots a powerful attack in a line, destroying the monsters in front with one shot which shocked Yuna and the others. Despite having a hard time moving, he commands clone number 2 to retrieve the body as he feels that he is about to blow up. He shouts at his clones to run as he slams the ground, causing it to shake and be destroyed, giving enough time for his clones to get back at the subspace with the dead body. The clones then activated the teleportation scroll. Raid Team 1 insists on not easily entering the portal since there are still people outside, but the clones say to not worry as it is just another clone. They entered the teleportation portal, leaving Sangwoo behind, as his body exploded due to the potion he took. He then activates his Monster Devourer skill to absorb the essence of the monsters he killed during the explosion, enabling him to absorb the stats of the Ice Guardians. At the hospital, Songtae is still in a coma, is being attended by one of the Keenest Guild members, who tells him that the day of their rescue is today and that it should be over by now, and that he should wake up in order for him to greet others with a smile. Songtae's finger suddenly flinches as if he heard what was said to him. At the entrance of Odin's tower, a portal suddenly shows up in front of Wante and the vice director. Wante suddenly has flashbacks of what happened at the accident before, and he grabs onto his chest and closes his eyes to calm himself down. When he opens it, Yuna was already in front of him, causing him to cry. Sangwoo is back to his original body with a headache due to his first experience of blowing himself up. Wante suddenly hugs her while crying, telling her it's all okay now and that they are all back, making her let go of all of her emotions as she cries, telling Wante one of her members died because of her and thinks that no one was coming to rescue them, making her really scared. Wante thanks her for coming back safely as the people at the hospital are shocked when Songtae, who was just in a comatose state earlier, wakes up. As they are packing up to head back to Korea, clone number 4 hands Sangwoo his items and equipment as he is looking at the increase in his stats. Wante approaches him with Yuna and thanks him. Sangwoo was being humble about what he did, telling them to raise their heads and that he only took the offer because it was good. Wante states that this is not over and that he should feel free to contact them whenever he needs them, and he will help them no matter what, together with the Keenest Guild. Sangwoo then gives back one of the unused teleport scrolls. Wante insists that he keep it since he was already planning to give it to him along with other items that were not used for the expedition. Sangwoo still insists on giving the scroll back since it does not make him feel comfortable if they don't take it back. Yuna asked if he had been there all this time, while Sangwoo suddenly felt that giving it back was a waste. Wante explains what Sangwoo did and that indeed he was there all along since Yuna thought the clones were real people who were just lying in order for them to calm down. Wante himself does not believe at first that such a skill exists, and thinks of what Sangwoo will be in the future. They all exit the portal and are back in Iceland. Sangwoo and Wante talk for a bit about how Wante would have to check on their health and how they should also prepare for a funeral when suddenly Sangwoo's phone received a lot of messages just now due to the dungeon not having receptions. He then sees the message from Yohayan about what happened at the agency and what happened to Junmo, which angers him, and then tells Wante that he needs to be somewhere right now. Wontae asks what happened and he tells him the situation that the Silver Moon Guild abducted Junmo due to his scuffle with its members one time at the dungeon. Wontae then hands him the teleportation scroll but Sangwoo is still hesitant to take it. Wontae insists, and reminds him of what he said earlier that they will support him no matter what. Yoo-hyun is able to follow where Junmo was taken as she hides from the guards. But she is grabbed by one of those guards. The guard questions who she is and why she was there when a portal appears with Sangwoo coming out about to attack. As Sangwoo appears at the back of the guard, his clones at the same surround the other guard on watch as he strangles the other one by the neck, asking him where is Junmo. Yoo-hyun stops him and tells him she knows where they are hiding him. Sangwoo calms himself down and ties the guards they apprehended. Yoo-hyun then tells Sangwoo that Junmo is inside the storage warehouse close by and that some guards are on patrol around the place. Sangwoo then tells Yoo-hyun to wait as he assembles all his clones to infiltrate the warehouse. Inside the warehouse, Junmo is tied in a chair as Chanseong Kong mocks Junmo, telling him why it has to be their guild. He then asked one of his lackeys when was young Sangwoo coming. He was informed that since he was still abroad, he should be coming in a couple of hours and that it would take a while. When they suddenly heard a noise outside, all of them were on alert as the storage door was forced open and Sangwoo showed up asking if they were from Silvermoon. Chanseong thought he would take another couple of hours. He asks Sangwoo if he is alone since he heard from the report that there are other guys in masks. Junmo shouts that Sangwoo should not be there but Sangwoo says just hold on a little longer, as he will do the same thing they did to him. One Silvermoon attacks but Sangwoo easily fends off the first attack and continues to demolish the other Silver Moon Guild members one by one in a quick manner, also breaking their arms. Chanseong expected this to happen and told Sangwoo that if he told him where the jewel crystal was they would let them go. Sangwoo didn't know what he was talking about, and stated that they already crossed the line so this would not end peacefully. Chanseong then brought out the document containing Sangwoo's information when they ransacked their office, telling him that his stats are overall amazing and that he should be around C to B rank with only his stats, making him able to beat almost all of the hunters in this field. He then proceeds to talk about his cloning skill and asks for the reason for him to be fighting them without using any skills, and laughs hysterically. He continues to talk about there are people like Sangwoo who has awakened but has trash skill and that's the reason why they focus around their stats like an idiot since there is not any skill that they can use properly except strike. And thinks that the masked guys who follow him also have lame skills since he noticed that they gather in a group. Sangwoo then calls out his clones and tells Chanseong he can test them and see for himself as his clones show up and are ready to take them head on. The members are surprised by their sudden appearance, and tell Chanseong that the other guards outside are already beaten by the look of things. Chanseong then thinks at least he is not outnumbered as he thinks that he did not like the idea of beating a single guy with a group. Sangwoo noticed how confident Chanseong was and wanted to see how great his skill was. Chanseong then proceeded to activate his skill Stealth, which his subordinate thinks was the best stealth skill that even the highest rank detecting skill couldn't detect. Junmo is also shocked by his sudden disappearance. As Chanseong goes around Sangwoo and states that feeling his presence and aura is useless since it removes traces of him, but the clones are unimpressed as Sangwoo's clones are able to detect Chanseong movements. Sangwoo just lets out a sigh. As Chanseong is about to attack, he orders his clones to get him. They immediately make their move and restrain Chanseong, putting him in a state of shock at how he was able to be detected despite his stealth skill. Like and subscribe if you want me to continue the next chapters, and thank you for watching.